Hey video diary, this is perfect because I can't see you, and it's been a few days. As you can see, it's only really been a few days since I had a kind of bad week, I think, if not 2 week period where my grieving went to a point where I wasn't enjoying life how I think I should, right? And my friend called me out of the blue, who is trained in therapy and also he just had his feelers up. So I thought that was an interesting reality check to get from the outside. I found these two books on the street. I thought they've been kind of helpful. This is like 30 years old. This I don't know. This is just a bunch of short attitude adjustments. This is quite deep. And, I don't know what to make of anything when things are co-eventual, like serendipitous. I don't know. I do know I've been resistant to, or let's say, I don't want to use language of like, I don't want to get funneled into any certain kind of language, but I've certainly been stuck in like a quicksand of my anger. My anger has been really, really, really bad, harsh, towards those dealers, towards my son, towards myself, towards anyone that had anything to do with taking drugs with him. Today I really felt that if I accept that, on some level that Forrest was fated for this outcome because of the first times that he decided to use drugs like this. He couldn't have been, more than 14 or 15 years old. There was a group of he and his friends who were just all of a sudden partying, and we thought like, oh, well, what is this, And then it very quickly was this heavy, hard drug thing. It's one thing if your kid has a bong hit. It's another thing if your kid shoots heroin. I was very strict with my son about smoking, how terrible an addiction smoking is, and we really had it out over that because that was something I could smell right away. You don't smell pills. But anyway, I did everything I could. I checked his phone many times. I found it's not like he was very, very careful. I found in his phone, he would go to the bathroom, I'd look in his texts, and I'd be like, we're picking these up, pictures of the pills. So I guess he started with pills, but it was all so quick, and I feel so responsible that I was his father then. He was still young. I was thought I was watching him. At one point, I was remembering we were doing a piece of theater in Lower Manhattan, and I was like, it was summertime, and I said, you're coming every single day and every night. And I just remembered that this morning. I'm like, oh yeah. And I even thought, like, I wouldn't even have known. I'm so ignorant of this, how this drug and its users operate, that he ran errands for us. We would be in the theater and we're like, okay, go up to the lighting place and bring this back. He'd do it, but I don't know anything. I know if I was fully invested in my drugging like I have been, like with marijuana, I would always find a way to find it, to have it, to buy it, to use it, it's just like smokers. Imagine if smoking was illegal, and and it is in some places, right? Like you can't smoke inside of bars and cafes and stuff like that. I remember when people used to smoke inside elevators, and they were considered polite if they put their cigarette out in the ashtray that they provided for you right by the fucking buttons. Yeah. Addiction, So I felt like, maybe that's part of my anger. It's really is at myself, for not catching this and not being able to stop it before it started. That's what I'm getting at. Once it started, I sprung into action. But he got into this private school. I massaged that relationship because I was like studying with this like pretty well-known composer and composing whatever, and they liked. I could tell that they liked that I was an artist working in my field in New York, struggling, and that Forrest got a scholarship, and I paid them the rest of the money kind of in cash. And I was grateful to that school for what I believed was my son getting this leg up, right? That's what we all want. Nobody wants to end up in hell. Nobody wants to, everybody, I wanted that. He had a chance to do something most people don't. He might have felt guilty because we're like, we're not rich people. We're artists who hustle and angle. That was a real, I'm not going to say it was a hustle, but it was like I worked with those folks to take him. They took my daughter. I'm like, this is such a great thing to have generations come here, etc. And that's where he got into it. So, and also his friends in Cold Spring, back home, Garrison in Cold Spring, who's shooting up with them. I want to also say that to my knowledge, he only ever, what he disclosed to me is he would buy heroin in like urban areas, Newburgh, Peekskill, Harlem. So I know it is a thing inside of the African American community at levels that, it doesn't smell, it's small, your clientele is just, I think that's who's being used, okay, the African American youth, but these guys that I see dealing here aren't youths, they're middle-aged. And I think, like, what kind of asshole do you have to be to do that? One guy's huge, fucking intimidating and huge, but he sees me when I walk by. Yeah, what are we gonna do? Right now, my worst nightmare has come true. That's the thing. It's my worst nightmare has already happened, and now I don't know what I want to do. Like, that's where I get into, like, the life is not worth it thing, and it's not true. But at the same time, it's partially true, So if you don't admit the ugly truths about things, you don't survive them. My anger is a way of holding on. And to think that I had to say goodbye to him when he was 14 or 15 is very difficult. And I haven't been able to get to that place where I don't blame him for making the choice to start it up again, As if, it ever stops. I understand that, but to actively use is like an acceptance of death. He was alive before then. He had things to live for. Last thought, I was going out jogging with my wife, beautiful day, and as we're going down half a block from my front stoop, some guy is asking people for change, which is not typical. These are like residential, like blocks. It's not like where there's a lot of traffic. But there is a couple of drug and halfway places and in this neighborhood. And as we're going by, I see like the sort of like group of people that are just on the sidewalk kind of move away from this person, which attracted my attention. And we locked eyes. He was saying, "Can you help me with money?" I had no money. I just had my shorts on. But I said, like at first with anger, like, "There's no way I can help you." And he saw that look and he took it in and he didn't fight it. And then I said to him out loud, "I know you're suffering though, and you need it, that you really need help." And he just, he was this really well-built but kind of fucked up person in his 30s, kind of redneck tattoos, baseball hat on. He looked at me and he shook his head, an appreciation of acknowledging that he was suffering. That's just blew my mind. I'd say that my wife was not happy that I engaged him, because things can go sideways here in a second. But had I not, I wouldn't have had that insight that he's not happy where he is. And I know that that's not enough. It's not enough to be unhappy. You have to be activated. But he wasn't, it's not where he wanted to be. And that was just on an animal level, a heuristic, just a gut thing between two humans. So it made me want to be more compassionate and maybe try to help. Oh, shit. There you are.